Why, therefore, should man's first flight to the moon be a matter of national competition? Why should the United States and the Soviet Union, in preparing for such expeditions, become involved in immense duplications of research, construction, and expenditure? Surely we should explore whether the scientists and astronauts of our two countries, indeed of all the world, cannot work together in the conquest of space, sending someday in this decade to the moon, not the representatives of a single nation, but the representatives of all of our countries.
I met with the president of Bauman, Moscow State Technical University. They have an ongoing program there that they conduct every summer, and we discussed having students from Rice participate in the program.
Very proud and very grateful to be in Moscow today, on the day of American independence that we celebrate the 4th of July, and to be among friends after so many years of harsh competition with Russians. Be in a place where I have many good friends, in a wonderful atmosphere, and with a group of our future leaders in the space program. I wish you good luck. I hope you build strong relationships with each other and continue peace among the people in the world by good example of working in space together.
I thought it'd be a great way to interact on a science basis in the space program, as well as develop my skills.
There's mainly two different groups besides the Russian students. There's the Americans and then the Swiss. And within the Swiss, there's Swiss French, Swiss German, Swiss Italian. And then kind of the French were kind of somewhere in the middle. And there was a guy from Germany and the girl from Greece.
I was very apprehensive going in because I'm not used to traveling much. First time out of the continent, really.
I had no idea what to expect. No preconceived notions. The only things I knew about Russia were what I had learned in European history classes. Our project for the 2 weeks we were there was to design a module that would suit up and land on a moving comet.
It's called Interplanetary Comet Surface Exploration.
The purpose of this project was to figure out more about the actual surface of the comet.
We first discussed on how we would do it as a team, and then they broke the project up into 6 or 7 subdivisions,
including thermal design, general design, ballistics, and robotics were a few.
I was on the propulsion team.
I was part of the communication system.
I ended up choosing general design.
I actually chose electrical powering systems.
They had a lot of specialists from the Bauman State Technical University that would help with each of the groups. Biggest obstacles in the project was, of course, a language barrier. A lot of the students, while they spoke rather good English, it was very hard to have each understand very technical terms in which we were dealing with this project.
It was almost better because people actually had to listen. Because if you're having trouble understanding somebody, you really gotta sit there and pay attention. You can't let your mind drift. You can't be working on something else. So that part was really cool. Like, everybody was paying attention.
To watch the students adjust to be working with the other students. I mean, that's the point of the program, really, is to establish on a university level the same kind of cooperation that it took to build and to run the International Space Station.
Every morning we would go out and see a different cultural site.
We got to see famous Moscow Ballet. We got to go to the Kremlin, a bunch of museums that were spectacular, World War II museums.
One of the most monumental parts of the trip was going to the World War II Museum. You could really see how many lives are taken at the war and how it really affects not only the people, but the students we were working with as well.
One morning we ended up seeing the armory, which is where they hold all the carriages and jewels and clothes and weapons, and that was incredible, just how much history they had.
One of the days they took us to the Bauman State Institute technical laboratories. They took us around to all the labs and showed us all these lasers, spectrometry, optical experiments that they're running, and they had the students talk to us. And that day I was just, mind blown about how advanced they are in their specialties.
There was a day we went to, we called it Rocket Park. The rockets, things weren't glued together. I could unscrew things. At first I went in, being careful, trying to make sure nobody was looking while I did things, and then I would look up and people were filming me instead of telling me to stop. And it was encouraging.
We went to Zvezda, which was industry dedicated solely to making spacesuits. And we actually got to see the original spacesuit of Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space.
So we got to see mission control one morning, and that morning we actually prepared questions, and students were selected to talk to the cosmonauts that are on the ISS currently.
While we were in mission control, I had the great opportunity to ask a question to the cosmonauts in space. And what I asked was, in Russian, «Дорогие космонавты, я хотел знать, что я должен сделать, чтобы моя мечта полететь в космос осуществилась». And what that means was, I asked, dear cosmonauts, what do I have to do to follow my dreams of going to fly in space? And what they answered was through, hazy static and zero gravity. They said, it seems like what you're doing right now is really what you should be doing, is collaborating with all these people from these different countries and kind of getting to know them and working on these projects. And so it was a great inspiration to hear that and to know that what I'm doing right now is a great thing and that they approve.
The camaraderie that comes from the students is most amazing, because all of a sudden you're lost in a bit of time.
So the boat ride was one of my favorite nights, actually. We were circled around the center of Moscow, and there were groups that after a little while pulled out a guitar and started playing music. And there was a group that started playing cards. I think a couple of the Americans were teaching them some American games and vice versa. I know my group, we were kind of tired, so we were just sitting back, watching the scenery, talking. It was kind of a lost hurrah one of the last nights before we left.
I learned more probably in those 2 weeks than I do in a whole semester here. And so being a part of that program just makes me want to do more programs and see everything that Rice has to offer.
Just have a more open worldwide view on things instead of just, how will this affect me here? But now that we have friends there and we've experienced life there, how will this affect places like that? And how do we get more involved?
I didn't know how much more we could be working together. I always had great pride in NASA and, the United States as a whole in their aerospace program. And I didn't realize how much pride each of the other countries had in theirs.
I'm really excited about the future. I feel like if I ever get involved, and I want to get involved with the space industry, I'll be able to go to Switzerland or France, and I'll have to work with these guys, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I've known them for 20 years. We have really cool ties. We spend a lot of time back in Moscow hanging out and doing this project together.
I think as we look to the future and space exploration and where we want to go to the moon or Mars or wherever we want to go beyond Earth's orbit, I think we're going to have to do that working with international partners, just as we have on the space station. And the Moscow Summer Intern Program was really designed to achieve that objective.